Hello and welcome to the CTI One Beyond Camera Manager training module. In this module, we will focus on configuring presenter tracking cameras such as the AutoTracker and Falcon. These cameras, which are designed to track a presenter based on facial and motion detection. Before we get started, please review the product manual for AutoTracker or Falcon to learn more about their specifications. First, we will need to set preset 0 and preset 1. Preset 0 is the home position. Think of this as the establishing shot. By default, the camera will revert to this preset when there is no tracked presenter. Preset 1 is the tracking shot. This preset determines how tightly the camera frames a presenter while tracking and determines the maximum amount of zoom and upward tilt motion of the tracking shot. Click on the Main View tab in the One Beyond Camera Manager software. Then, right-click on the camera and select the PTZ stream. Right-click again and select the reference stream. Now, click on the PTZ stream window and set your home position to where you would like it. Once you are done, select preset 0 from the drop-down and click Set. You can now move the PTZ camera and call the preset to confirm. When setting the tracking shot, there are multiple factors to consider. This is the zoomed-in shot when the camera is tracking. Think about how much space around the presenter you need and how much movement the presenter will be typically doing. Be sure to accommodate for various heights of people. If the presenter does not walk far, a tighter shot is fine. If the presenter will exhibit more motion or uses a whiteboard, maybe a looser shot is what you need. Work with it until you find something that works well for your use case. Now that the presets are set, click on the Settings to enter the Tracking Settings window. This view shows the wide angle or full room reference stream and is where we will configure the remainder of the settings. The first setting we want to configure is the tracking zone. You may need to clear the default tracking and blocking zones if this camera is being configured for the first time. Now, click on the Tracking button and draw the green rectangle over the desired presentation area. This area is where you want the camera to track your presenter. Include lecterns or podiums. As a good practice, keep this tracking zone slim, preferably slightly above the presenter's head to the bottom of their torso. This may not be ideal in some environments with displays. This tracking zone can be redrawn at any time by clicking on the Tracking button. Blocking zones will limit what the camera will detect within the tracking zone. For example, we are going to imagine this whiteboard is a display. If this display was a view of remote participants, the camera could potentially pick up a face as a presenter. To prevent this, we will use a blocking zone for the display. Note, here we are using blocking zone 8. Blocking zones 7 and 8 are special blocking zones for displays and projectors. One thing to note when adding blocking zones is to leave room for the tracking zone below. This space will allow the camera to track below the blocking zone. For this demo, let's turn on the debug mode so we can see the camera's algorithm. Click Save, Exit, and then start tracking. The first thing we see is the camera orients itself. The camera now detects the presenter in the tracking zone. When the presenter walks toward the blocking zone, the camera is only detecting motion in the space below the tracking zone as represented by the green debug box. It only takes a few moments for the camera to pick up his face and lock on, which is represented by the blue debug box. Please note that Falcon has different indicators for debug. It is recommended to do further testing with debug mode to ensure the camera does not detect undesired subjects or audience members. Be sure to disable debug mode after testing. Blocking zones 1 to 6 are used to omit sections of the tracking zone that we do not wish for the camera to detect. Use these general blocking zones on windows, moving objects, or audience members that may overlap into the tracking zone. For example, the camera may pick up an audience member in this setup. We will draw a blocking zone over the area where this person overlaps the tracking zone. We can see the presenter moving back and forth through the tracking zone. The camera does not detect the audience member in the blocking zone. The camera returns to the home position after the presenter leaves the tracking zone. For AutoTracker cameras, an additional troubleshooting step is to check the calibration of the PTZ camera. Click on Setting, then select POS Correct. A position correction may be needed if the PTZ camera is tracking your presenter off-axis. This will open an additional window showing the PTZ stream. Arrange the windows so that you can see the PTZ stream, the reference stream, and the controls. The goal here is to line up the two crosshairs as close as possible together. Keep in mind, the parallax effect will make the crosshairs appear off. Get as close as you can. Return and make sure you save. There are several additional settings to adjust tracking behavior and parameters. These are found in the Basic 2 tab. Please note the Falcon may have different settings. Tilt motion. When activated, the camera will tilt up or down once locked onto a presenter's face. Auto zoom. When activated, the camera will automatically zoom in or out as a tracked presenter moves closer to or away from the camera. Outside zone. Once the camera has detected and locked onto a presenter's face in the tracking zone, the presenter will be tracked until they leave the pan-tilt range of the PTZ camera. For Falcon, this is the full room view. Note that the camera will switch to a new active presenter if they enter the tracking zone. Track sensitivity. Determines motion detection sensitivity that occurs within the tracking zone. Lower this setting if the camera detects lighting changes or shadows. Pan tilt speed. Determines the speed of pan and tilt movements during tracking. This can be increased if the presenter tends to move fast. Zoom limit. Determines the maximum amount of zoom applied when a tracked presenter walks further into the background. In most scenarios, this setting will have limited effect. Lost timeout. Defines how long the camera will wait before returning to preset 0 once the presenter has left the tracking zone. Target lost action. Determines whether the camera returns to preset 0, preset 1, or stays at its current position when no presenter is being tracked. Power on state. Determines whether the camera powers on with tracking enabled or disabled. There are several additional settings for presenter cameras. In addition, control via Crestron can be accomplished through Visca commands or its simple module. Please refer to the product manual for more details.